This is Dispatches from Myrtle Beach with Charles Neal and my son Link from Good Mythical Morning. How you doing, Link?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm loosened up, ready to get another dispatch. How are you feeling?
Oh yeah, I'm ready. I'm always ready to do some dispatches for dispatches from Myrtle Beach. Yeah, let them keep bringing them in, see what's going on with them. Let them know what's going on with us. So
All right, there it is.
that's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
get loose of a morning? Do you like to do you stretch?
Well, when you do what I do for a living, I don't stretch much because when I get out and get a paintbrush out and climbing up and down a ladder, it don't take but about 5 minutes, and I'm stretched out with the way I had to twist and turn. So no, I don't. And that might be a good idea, though, Link.
I think it is.
Before I start, kind of like when I play golf, I always stretch and do some stuff and get ready to hit that first golf ball. Maybe I ought to stretch a little bit to get myself ready to go to work and painting with whatever I'm doing. So
I think you should. When you get to be my age, you got to stretch every morning. You're going to pull something. So that's what you got to look forward to.
Your age?
I already stretch every morning to prevent some sort of injury.
I would think, let's see, me and you both just had a birthday, and I was 72, and I don't never stretch, and
you need to stretch. Dad doesn't believe in stretching.
I don't.
You don't believe in it. I don't believe in it. All right.
No, I ain't playing football no more. Hell, I'm working. I stretch out enough working.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, but so I'm sorry. Listen.
Don't apologize to me. Apologize to your own body if you pull something.
Whatever's good for you. If it makes you feel better and you don't want to get a cramp or pull a muscle or do something, you get up and you keep right on stretching and working out. You just keep up the good work.
I wouldn't call it working out. I would just call it. Here's what I do. I turn the hot water on my shower. I turn the water on and I have to wait for it to get hot.
Yep.
And that's the moment that I go over to my bath mat. I use it kind of like a yoga mat, and I do some stretches.
Your bath mat for your yoga mat. So that means you lay down in the bathroom on your bath mat to do your stretches.
Yeah. Well, I'm usually on my knees. I'm on my hands and knees.
Okay.
I don't lay on my back. But I'll do some cat and I'll do some cow. You don't know what cat and cow is? That's how you stretch your back. You make your back go like this, and you make your back go like that. You arch it and you bulge it.
Oh, okay. All right.
You really got to
see that. You ain't never too old to learn something.
You need to stretch out your vertebrae.
Yeah, if you knew how my vertebrae was, it ain't much help in stretching it out, but it's
okay. And yes, I am completely naked when I'm doing these. And sometimes Christy walks in.
Well, if you're getting ready to get in the shower, you ain't supposed to have no clothes
That's
on.
right. That's what I tell Christy. She's like, why are you down here contorting on the floor all naked? And there's a full-length mirror that just happens to be across from the bath mat. And
my goodness.
And I sometimes I'll look at myself, just to make sure everything's still there.
Yep.
Then I get in the shower and
hanging
I'll
like
wash
it ought to be.
Yep.
I mean, you just just got to keep a check on that too.
Make sure it's hanging like it ought to be.
Yep. That's right. Yeah.
So you do that? You strip down naked and you look in the mirror every morning to see if it's hanging like it ought to be?
No, I don't look in the mirror. I ain't got a mirror where I can just look at it. But when I take a shower once in a while, when I'm washing that thing down there, I want to make sure it's still hanging like it ought to be.
Okay, yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
That if you ever release an album, I think that's what the name of the album would be.
Hanging like it ought to be.
Charles Neal, hanging like it ought to be.
Well, maybe I need to pick my guitar up and learn how to play it and do me an album, hanging like it ought to be.
There you go, yeah.
We might ought to go ahead and get a copyright for that. Somebody else will probably steal it now.
I think we could at least make a T-shirt. Like it looks like an album, but it's just like it's just a T-shirt for an album that doesn't exist, hanging like it ought to be. Okay, what else you got? Give me more of this dispatch.
You know me. I went in Lowe's the other day to get some stuff, and there was 3 guys sitting on some garden furniture they were trying to sell, and they was relaxed. And one of them was even up under the umbrella, and I said, well, how you guys doing? He said, we're doing pretty good, waiting up here to get something. And I said, well, you guys ever watch anything on YouTube? And one of the guys said, well, all of them said some once in a while. And I asked, well, have you ever heard of Rhett and Link on Good Mythical Morning? And one of the guy's ears just perked up and said, oh, yeah. And they were a little older, but said, yeah, I used to watch them all the time, still watch them some. I said, well, here. And I just snatched 3 Dispatches from Myrtle Beach cards out of my pocket and handed them 3 of them. And I said, well, my name's Charles Neal, and I got a podcast with my son called Dispatches from Myrtle Beach. And y'all need to look that up and see how it's going. I said, because Rhett and Link don't need much more help no more for the people. I want them to keep watching them, but I'm the one that's trying to get up to where they're going. Them boys said, they sat down right there in them chairs and pulled up and signed on to subscribe to Dispatches from Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to do my job.
That's good. Going around Lowe's. Just as you're going along, you're in Lowe's, you're just going to hand out the cards. A little bit goes a long way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't never tell. Yeah.
Did you get their names? You want to give them a holler out right now? Because I guess they're still listening.
I didn't.
They're no doubt
They
hooked.
was busy and I was too, but the 3 guys at Lowe's, I'm hollering out to you. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
thanks for tuning in, fellas.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you did follow through and look us up.
I give a holler out to the guy who is painting the water tower at the end of my dog walk. They finally finished another one back there, and he's really into the show. I didn't have a business card, but I did take a selfie with him.
Darn, he painting the water tower.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Well, it's not really a tower. Out here, I know back home they're up on, the big stilts, and you just got the big water tower up there. But out here, in like the mountains, in like the lower foothills, they use the gravity of they use elevation to their advantage, and it's just the
reservoir.
It's a water tank that's not on stilts because they don't need the stilts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I met a guy who's like big fan.
Well, that's great.
Should have had a business card. You didn't. You're using all of them, which is fine.
You got some out there.
Oh, I do.
Just have to keep them in your pocket.
Oh, yeah. I'm not much in the habit of carrying business cards, Dad. I'm just gonna be honest.
It's not your business card. It's my business card.
Oh,
Dispatches from Myrtle Beach.
Okay. All right. I'll straighten up.
Help me, promote the show. Even though, you're half of it, and she's got your picture on it.
Yes. All right.
Okay.
But both of us are handsome. I remember.
Yeah, but that's kind of what's been going on. It's summertime here, and it's
here too.
It's just like it always is. A crowd of people down here
partying,
going to the beach. Yep,
getting sand in their
shoes,
and other places too.
Yeah,
other
laying
crevices
in the sand. You can get some in your crack and everywhere else too. That's right.
Right. Get some sand in your crack and some dispatches in your ear. That could be the next business card.
Well, Link, I got a little thing we got. It said everyone's been waiting, and we finally heard back from Parker. Drew was trying to get Parker to listen, and Parker finally sent something in that where Drew was saying, this is what he said.
Okay.
And this is from Parker. He said, "Howdy, Neals.
Howdy.
My friend Drew has been trying to convince me to listen to Dispatches from Myrtle Beach for quite some time now. And for some reason, I just wouldn't give you two offcast a shot. We're offcast.
We're offcasts.
I've been called worse.
Yeah, me too.
Parker, but thank you. But he finally got me to listen to episode 64. Charles pronounced more words, and my jaw hit the floor when I heard not only my friend Drew's name, but also my own. I'm so happy to be in the circle now, and I'm sorry that it took me so long to go all the way around. Unfortunately, when the conversation moved on from being about me, I think I zoned out a bit and eventually lost the plot altogether. But thank you and love you both, Parker."
Parker.
Parker, we're sending you another shout out.
Here we are talking about you again. This is the only part you're listening to.
Yeah, we're going to call your name a couple times so you keep listening to all the podcasts and not lose your train of thought.
I know. Dad, we need to develop the habit of just like throwing in the word Parker. Just put it in there so he can zone back in. What you think about that, Parker?
Yeah. But
welcome to the flock.
Yeah, I'm glad Drew was very persistent with you, Parker. And Drew, I'm giving you another shout out for getting Parker to listen.
Yeah. All right, Parker, now you can zone back out a little bit. We're going to move on to something else. It's not going to be about you.
Well, yeah, because while you're listening, Parker, we're going to do some stuff from the Rather Be Shagging at 53AOL.com that was people sent in.
Okay.
It's time for another edition of Myrtle Beach Mailbag. And I got one from Harrison, and he asked me, have you ever hitchhiked?
Have you ever hitchhiked?
Hitchhiked. You know, like stick your thumb outside the road. It's probably not a good thing to do in this day and time, but back when I was growing up, it could be a good way to get you from point A to point B. And yes, Harrison, when I went to basic training and stayed down there before I got to carry my car back down there, and I couldn't catch a ride back home to Lillington, North Carolina, that we got off at about 4 o'clock one Friday afternoon, and you just can't hitchhike you couldn't back then anyway. You couldn't hitchhike on the Army base, try to catch a ride. You had to walk on down, get off the base, and then you could start hitchhiking, because they'd lock you up for hitchhiking. You might not been able to finish basic training.
Were you in a uniform?
Yes.
That helps.
Because I didn't have no other. They didn't let you bring your own clothes when you was in basic training. You wore their clothes.
Really? So you didn't have a pole with like a sack tied up on the end of it like a bona fide hobo?
Oh, no. No, you better not do that either.
So you stuck your thumb out and someone just stopped and picked you up.
And it won't long. Somebody that was coming up the road, and they used to say that a man in a uniform, people would stop and pick them up, and they would. And he asked me where I was going, and I told him. He said, "Well, I can get you about halfway there."
Because where was it?
And Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Okay, that's quite a
close to Columbia.
Well,
Fort Jackson and Columbia.
That might have been a 4-hour drive.
It's pretty close. Yep.
Okay. So he took you halfway? What was that like?
We just talked some. It's been a long time ago, but I do remember, he getting me and he dropped me off. We went up highway number 1, and so I could get to Sanford to cut off. And I knew if I could get that close, I could get to a payphone to call somebody to come and get me and pick me up because they won't no cell phones.
Were you afraid of somebody wanting to like kill you, or were you prepared to also kill somebody?
Well, I really didn't ever cross my mind. I mean, I really wasn't afraid any. And I mean, I left about 4 o'clock that afternoon, and about somebody else picked me up, and they kind of went out of the way and carried me all the way to Lillington and dropped me off at Mom and Daddy's house about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Really? So, I mean, someone was that kind to say, well, I'll take you out of my way.
Because, hey, I think the first check I drew in the Army, that they automatically they did have it where it just went straight to a bank account, and you couldn't get it out while you're still in basic training. So, I mean, they gave us like, I think $15 a week or something, because you could go buy some stuff right around on the base and stuff. So I didn't have a whole lot of money, I mean, to give somebody and to help out and everything, and people didn't really ask for it, so it was a pretty neat thing. So when I went back, I had made arrangements to drive my car back and leave it outside the base where I could park it.
I mean, that could be quite an adventure, but you don't remember the specific people.
I'm 72. Yeah, that's been 50 years ago.
Well, they didn't murder you. That you would have remembered that.
Oh, yeah, I'd have remembered that, or I'd have remembered if they was trying.
Are there people, like, back then there were people thumbing for rides constantly, right? It was commonplace.
It was a pretty standard thing.
Were you into practice to picking up people?
I did it some, but it was kind of ironic. I picked a boy up in Sanford when I went through to go back and get on number 1. That was going back to Fort Jackson, and carried him back with me.
Really?
And he was outside of Sanford getting on down towards Southern Pines, and he was out there doing like this side of the road, and I stopped and picked him up, carried him all the way back to Fort Jackson.
He just happened to be, you're going back to the same basic training.
Yep.
I've never really had the occasion to hitchhike. I think the only time, Rhett and I went up to Indiana for his brother's wedding, and we were we rode up there with them, and then they left for something, and we didn't have a car, so then we were going to walk from the hotel to the car, and it was like across town. And we didn't stick our thumb out, but a guy pulled over to give us a ride, and it turns out that it was Rhett's grandpa, who we rarely saw. He recognized Rhett and pulled over, and we were just thinking, somebody's trying to give us a ride. So, but I guess that doesn't count as hitchhiking. Yeah, so I've never actually hitchhiked. Nowadays, if you're driving on, I've definitely seen this out here. I don't know, it's maybe across the country. You'll see signs that say, don't pick up hitchhikers. And I've learned what that means. Yeah. It means that you're near like a prison, where if there's like an escaped convict or something, what they'll try to do is, hitch a ride with somebody to get out of Dodge. You know, they literally have signs around these places. Don't pick up hitchhikers. Somebody on the lam.
Well, being that I have worked in the prison system before, I wouldn't worry about if I was picking somebody up around a prison or something, because there's little chance in hell in a snowstorm that there's somebody escaped from out there that they ain't already out there looking for them up and down that road. So if it's somebody out hitchhiking beside the road, you need to be a little more careful about, because it may be somebody that may end up trying to do something to you so they can get in that prison over there. So,
at this day and age, I mean, it's just you hear these horror stories, you just don't know. I feel for people the occasional person you see that's hitchhiking, but it's too big of a risk to pull over nowadays. And so the thoughts cross my mind, but then immediately it's like, I can't take that risk.
No, that ain't a good idea. Hey, I'm just right now. I'm just telling you that's a good train of thought. But this is your daddy talking to you. He said you don't need to stop and pick nobody up hitchhiking, and tell my grandchildren the same thing.
All right, I'll tell him.
And your wife. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go home and tell Chrissy. Dad said, don't pick up any hitchhikers.
Yeah,
it's a lost art. It's a lost art.
Yeah.
Now, what are thumbs good for now?
Thumbs up, like when they do. That's all they're good for. That boy, that's the way to go. Yeah.
Yep.
Or thumbs down. That won't good. That won't good.
Well, that's what it's. And grabbing things, Dad. Also, thumbs are good for.
New mugs just landed in the Mythical store. Check out the Good Mythical Morning Show mug, available in 4 colors: almond, white, pink, and orange. Available at mythical.com. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. We all carry around different stressors, big and small. When we keep them bottled up, it can start to affect us negatively. Therapy is a safe space to get things off your chest and to figure out how to work through whatever's weighing you down. This show, sponsored by BetterHelp, is a good way for you to be able to talk to somebody and get something off your chest, because I've had to get some things off my chest in my lifetime and been to a therapist and done that for probably 6 months, going through different things in my life, and it gets you calmed down and you're not in a stress environment anymore, and it makes you just feel so much better about yourself because you're able to talk to somebody that they're not going to tell somebody else what you're talking about. They keep it to themselves. Just like, if you tell a friend something, they say, oh, I'm not going to tell anybody, but most of the time they're going to tell somebody. So it's a really good thing if you call BetterHelp and need to talk to somebody. It'll be a good way to get something off your chest. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/dispatches today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/dispatches. Why do you want to learn a new language? Maybe you have an upcoming international trip, want to connect with a family member or friend, or just want to learn a new skill or take on a new hobby. In comes Rosetta Stone, the most trusted language learning program, available on desktop or as an app. It truly immerses you in the language you want to learn. They use trusted experts for 30 years with millions of users and 25 languages offered, some of which include Spanish, French, German, Korean, Chinese, Japanese, Dutch, and Arabic. Rosetta Stone immerses you in many ways. There are no English translations, so you really learn to speak, listen, and think in that language. It's designed for a long-term retention. Plus, they have convenient desktop and app options with audio companion and the ability to download lessons offline. All for an amazing value. A lifetime membership has all 25 languages for any and all languages needed in life. That's lifetime access to all 25 language courses Rosetta Stone offers for 50% off. A steal! Don't put off learning that language. There's no better time than right now to get started. For a limited time, Dispatches from Myrtle Beach listeners can get Rosetta Stone's lifetime membership for 50% off. Visit rosettastone.com/dispatches. That's 50% off unlimited access to 25 language courses for the rest of your life. Redeem your 50% off at rosettastone.com/dispatches today. Well, Link, we got another email from Anthony, and it says, many folks have done strange things during their childhoods. In a way, it's how we learn and grow into who we become later in life.
Okay.
For example, I decided it was possible to make melted caramel by putting a butterscotch in a small cup. I ended up microwaving it for 10 minutes while going outside to play. It didn't work, but I did learn how to create a 6-inch smoke layer in my kitchen and how to permanently destroy our family microwave.
Oh.
What is the strangest or craziest thing that you did as a child? And what lessons did it teach you? Much love from Mobile, Alabama.
So he wants to know, what's the strangest thing that you've done as a child?
Well, I have talked about some strange things I already did as a child, but we're not going to bring them back up. But where we lived at Lillington, and behind our house and in between, there was a vacant lot, and it had this tall straw that would grow up.
Okay.
So a bunch of us kids went around there, and we built us a bunch of teepees out of this straw and made us a place to play and go camp and have things that we tried to do during the daytime, and just giving us something to do. Because, back when I was growing up, we did get to play baseball, but you didn't have no video games, and you had to figure out things to do that was interested.
Yeah.
But
so you'd make a teepee, like a thatched roof, or you would just they were tall enough that you'd make them like a triangle.
Yeah, and they was about 4 or 5, because we weren't that tall then, 4 or 5 foot tall.
And
that's
cool.
And so it was pretty neat. And we had these things out, and there was Jewel Bird's house was on one side, and I'm trying to remember there was some other, and our house was right behind it, and just houses all around this empty field. And then there was a apartment complex right beside of it where a lot of people lived over there.
Okay.
And we came out one day, and it was all gone. Somebody had set it on fire.
What?
And the fire truck was out there putting it out, and it burned all of it down. And we didn't know if we was in trouble for building them things or what we did. And we never did know. I don't think we were all trying to figure out, one of us mischievously might have been doing something one day and caught it to set on fire. But nobody went on, and it won't me.
Are you sure? You sure that you don't want to tell us something? Now's the time.
No, it won't me, because I didn't like some of these kids. Kind of like to smoke a cigarette once in a while when we was growing up and trying different things. But I hated them things, so it won't me. But but the fire truck was out there, and they just kept it wet on the edge and just let the whole field and all our little teepees burn up. So we had to go find somewhere else to go play after that.
So you got your little friends building teepees and smoking cigarettes? Is that what was happening out there?
Well, there was a couple of them, yeah. They tried to get me to steal some of Papa's. Just get a couple of them. He won't never miss them. I said, I ain't helping you smoke no cigarettes. That ain't gonna happen. That
was never your thing.
Mm.
It was definitely Papa's
pretty ironic.
thing.
Then I went to growing tobacco years later.
Right.
Oh yeah, and then probably the other strangest thing, Link, that ever happened with me, when I was 9 years old, I was about 9 or 10 anyway, I broke my elbow and throwing a baseball.
Oh.
And when I was about 3 or 4, you can't hardly see it, but I got this scar right here where I run my arm up in a wringer washing machine while your Nana was talking to her mom, and she wasn't watching me. and I was trying to help, and it run me all the way up to my elbow.
Oh,
Up
you're
here.
talking about the two things that
And the two things
rollers?
was just a spinning around on my arm right there.
You
and
remember
just
that?
Burning. Oh, yeah, and burning the meat. And I was screaming and hollering, and Mama would run in there, and it had a little lever on the side of it where it would put them back apart, jerk me out, and had to carry me to the doctor and all that. But that's just kind of what happened with this story when I broke my elbow, and they had to put a cast on my arm, and it had to be at an L right here where I couldn't move it, where it cracked it and broke it.
Makes me uncomfortable.
So about 4 weeks later, I was riding my bicycle and going down the road, and I kept feeling something wet. And I looked down, and there was pus and mucus and all kind of stuff running out the end of my cast, coming out my arm.
Pus and mucus.
Yeah. And I said, what in the world? So I turned around and went back home and got Mama, and I said, Mama, there's something going on. I did that thing, and she seen it. She said, oh, my God, what in the world have you done now? I said, Mama, I ain't done nothing. So Daddy was at work, so we walked 2 blocks down the street, back down to Dr. Pede's office, showed him what, and he cut that cast off, and where that place is at on my arm had festered up because the skin was so thick. So they had to clean all that up. And then they had to fix me another cast to put on my arm. But when he made the cast, he left a hole in it where that thing could get some air. Where my arm was healing up. That's
like a breathing hole?
A breathing hole where it was up above it up there. And so that's
You don't want
if you ever have something happen to your arm, you're riding a bicycle and stuff goes running out down your arm, don't be alarmed. Just going back to the doctor and let them cut the cast off. And
you want me to tell everybody that too? So when I go home, I'm going to tell Christy if she's got pus and mucus running down her arm, don't be alarmed and don't hitchhike.
And don't hitchhike. All right. That would be correct.
All right. Yeah. I got to start taking notes if there's anything else you need me to tell
her. Well, I'll remind you.
All right. That's wild, Dad.
Anthony, I've had, a couple of strange things. And
yeah.
I reckon one of them is kind of craziest too, because when you break your arm and you got pus and mucus running out where you cast.
You don't have to say pus and mucus again. Just don't. You don't have to.
What, you stomach queasy?
Yeah, I just don't. We're good. We get it.
Okay. All right. So just watch that, and so thank you for sending that in, Anthony.
Yeah.
And Link, I don't know about you, but it's been fun having you all here with us today, and we'll be back next week for another one. And don't forget to follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. And while you're at it, rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. And if you got a question, comment, or story you'd like to share with me, email me at ratherbe2nd53@aol.com. Send them emails on in. And y'all have a great rest of your week. And Link, I can't wait to see you next time and just see if you can get some pus and mucus to run down your elbows again the next time. So I'll see you next week. Love you,
Dad. I love you too, Dad.